Please note that the views expressed on this program are those of the individuals who speak them, and not necessarily those of Portsmouth Community Radio, its Board of Trustees, members, volunteers, or underwriters. Good evening and welcome to Spirit Radio. I am your host, Willie Hassell. Along with my co-host, Lynn Nickerson, we will take you on a journey into the unknown where the paranormal becomes the normal. A journey to a world cloaked in darkness where reality becomes a thin veil. So sit back, relax, and join us as we venture into the shadows, the darkness, the unknown, and back. Good evening once again, and welcome to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. I am your host, Willie Hassell, your gatekeeper to the dark side, your guide to the realm of the unknown, the unseen, the unthinkable. And she is the always lovely, the mystical, the mysterious, Lynn Nickerson. Good evening.
Good evening, Willie.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very good.
Good.
Very good. I'm just loving this sunny, warm summer.
Yes, sunny summer.
Yes, summer weather. That's what I was trying to get out.
Summer weather in our nice, sunny new studio with red walls.
I know it. We're going
nice and bright.
Major construction going on here. Everything's getting all painted up, nice and new.
At least they're not working right now. It'll be quiet for the show.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of the show, I am going to go ahead and introduce tonight's guest.
Please do.
Okay, I will, since you asked. Tonight on Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience, once again, we welcome Merrell Fankhauser. Merrell is a musician, a paranormal investigator, and TV show host. As one of the innovators of surf music, Merrell has had a long career in the music business. His music has influenced many musicians and delighted millions of fans over the last 5 decades. Anyone who remembers the surf music of the 60s surely remembers the classic Wipeout.
I do.
Which was written by, I have a story about that, which was written by Merrell. He is also the host of Tiki Lounge, a favorite California TV show. Along with his music career, he has also had a lifelong interest in the paranormal and the study of the lost continent of Mu. Merrell has had many personal paranormal experiences while living in Hawaii. His newest album, Signals from the Dome, was based on recordings of strange noises recorded off the coast of Malibu, California, thought to be possibly signals from an underwater UFO base deep beneath the sea about 6 miles off the coast of Southern California. And so tonight, we are going to have a little paranormal, a little surf music, and a lot of fun. And so please, let's now welcome tonight's guest, Merrell Fankhauser.
Hi, Merrell.
Good evening, Merrell.
Hi, Willie. Hi, Lynn. Great
Welcome.
to be back with you again.
Glad to have you back on.
And how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I hear you talking about the weather back there. Well, I'm on the central coast of California, in between Los Angeles and San Francisco, and it's beautiful here today. It's
good.
75 degrees with a light breeze coming in off the ocean. I couldn't ask for better weather.
Nice.
You always have perfect weather in that part of the state there, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. It's mild winters, and sometimes, lately, though, it's been getting hotter in the summer than it usually does.
Have you noticed that? It's getting hotter over there in the summer?
Yes.
Global warming, maybe, I wonder.
Gee, maybe, you think?
No, I don't really, but that's beside the point.
Well, Merrell, before we start talking about your CD, I just want to mention once again about Calling from a Star, that I hope everybody buys it because it is such an interesting biography. I don't read a lot of biographies, but this one is really exceptionally exciting. So I just think it's a cool book, and you've led such an interesting life. So I just wanted to give you that plug. I think that is a cool book.
Oh, I have to agree with that. Yes, very, very interesting.
Well, thank you very much.
The episode.
Shirley MacLaine is reading it right.
No kidding.
And she's enjoying it, and when she finishes it, I'm going to do an interview.
Excellent.
With her. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Now, does she have a show or something?
Yes, she has a radio show, and she lives in Arizona, and she does a radio show there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you and her can get into some of the paranormal stuff. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, all right. The new album, Signals from Malibu. You want to tell us a little bit about that and how it came about?
Yeah, Willie, I hadn't recorded anything for about a year. I was so busy doing live performances and then doing the TV show, Tiki Lounge. And my drummer said, well, what are we going to do next, Merle? And I said, I don't know. And all of a sudden, I get these strange radio signals sent to me by Michael Luckman, who was the author of Alien Rock, the Extraterrestrial Connection. And the story goes that an old World War II retired radio expert one night was talking to somebody on his ham radio, and he started getting these strange signals, and he lives in the hills of Malibu. And he was an expert at range finding where signals were coming from. And he goes, well, wait a minute, this is out in the ocean there a few miles. There's nothing out there. And so he recorded them because he was kind of an expert in different codes and military codes. And he said that was like nothing he had ever heard. So he even went, there's north of it, of where he lives a few miles, there's Point Magoo, the Naval Air Station, and he even went there and knew some people there and said, are you doing any submarine testing or something out there? And they said, no, we're not doing anything. So he kept asking around, and a lot of the locals, especially surfers, said, well, we've been seeing lights going in and out of the water there for years. And so somebody put him in touch with Michael Luckman, who was the head of the Extraterrestrial Research Center in New York, and they sent the signals to him, and he went, we have to send these to Merrell Fankhauser. So I get these signals, and it was really interesting because things like this have happened to me before. Somebody will say a title or something will happen, and all of a sudden I hear a song in my head. Well, as soon as I put these signals on, I heard like a 60s, the only way I know to explain it is a 60s James Bond kind of surf instrumental. And I real quick turned on the recorder and just recorded a scratch copy of my guitar part, because I've learned that when these things happen, you got to get the melody or the words down, because
it
something
evaporates.
else could happen and it'll just disappear.
Yeah.
Right.
So my band came over and I played it to them, and they went, wow, this is really extraordinary. So I showed them all the music I'd written out. In about 3 hours, we had the whole song recorded, and I put these signals in the song. Then I noticed there was about 4 minutes more of the signals that I hadn't used. So I thought, well, I'll try a different approach with this, and I went out in the studio to the piano and turned on the signals, and I thought, oh, I better hit record just in case. And I don't even know what I played, Willie. I didn't know what key I was in or anything, and I finished it, and when I finished it, I got goosebumps, and my violinist said, did you know you're playing in E minor, and the notes of that signal, the high-pitched signal, is in E. And when we got done listening to it, it's almost like I was playing with the signals or they were playing with me.
Yeah.
And then I had these violin parts in my head and sat down and did an acoustic guitar part and bass. And after my violinist put his part on it, we were just, we couldn't believe it. It was like it was something sent to us. And so I sent it to my label in London, and they just loved it. And they said, if you do a whole album of this, we'll put it out. So in about 3 months, I cranked out the whole Signals from Malibu album, and it's on over 100 stations now. They're playing different songs. And I have to tell you, the odd thing that's happened on 3 radio stations...
We wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up. I heard about this.
...is that in the messages to the Dome song, where the signals are louder, about 3/4 of the way through where it comes out real loud, if they have a certain digital mixing board, it shuts the board down. This happened in Austin, Texas. It happened here in Sacramento. And a few months ago, it happened on a show I was on in England.
Oh.
And it was a lady host named Joanne. And about the last 10 minutes, she said, okay, we're going to play messages from the Dome now. Same thing happened. It just turned the radio, the whole board and everything was shut down. And the engineer got on the phone to me and he said, can you finish talking, because everything is dead in there, her mic doesn't work or anything. So I finished the show, and about 3 or 4 days later, I asked him, I said, oh, do you have a digital mixing board? And he said, yeah, it's the latest and the greatest and new one, and we just don't understand. That he mailed me back that whatever happened, it erased all of the settings in the mixing board.
It erased it.
Yes, and they had to go back in and reprogram the whole board. And the same odd thing happened after I had recorded the song and I mixed it down to my digital DAT recorder. I was trying to burn a CD digitally through the digital cable, and it kept happening at the same spot. It kept shutting the burner off, and I'm going, what's going on? I thought I got a bad
CD bunch, yeah.
So I went through 4 CDs, and then I went, wonder what'll happen if I hook it up analog. So I hooked it up, the regular old right and left analog RCA
the old-fashioned way.
And boom, it worked fine.
Yeah.
So that's one of the mysteries I'm trying to solve, and right now I have an engineer up at George Lucas's Skywalker Ranch studio analyzing these things to try to find out what the heck is going on with that. And another thing, Willie, I don't know if I told you, I was on Dr. Bob Hieronymus's radio show out of Baltimore, I think he is, and he really surprised me. He had the signals from that famous 1970 UFO case, the Billy Meyer case.
Oh, sure.
And where he had recorded these signals from this disc that was hovering over his house, and his dog was heard barking at it in the background. He played those signals. Then he played the signals that are in my 2 songs. He goes, what do you think, Merle?
Were they the same?
It was another one of those euphoric moments because they were almost identical.
Wow.
In the signal, there's a high-pitched sound. You guys have heard it. It almost sounds like a lady yodeling in spots. And then there's this under layer signal. There's 2 signals in one that sounds like a train going on railroad tracks. It was exactly the same. And I told Dr. Bob, I said, man, if Billy Meyer faked this, he had some kind of equipment in 1970 that wasn't invented yet.
Yeah.
So this has really been an interesting voyage for me with this album.
Is there any idea yet at all what it might be? I mean, do you think these are messages recorded from undersea UFOs, or possibly could it be some sort of a government project going on down there?
Well, see, that's what I thought at first, Willie. I thought it was so close to that Naval Air Station that's near Oxnard, California. I thought, oh, it's got to be something that the government's doing, and they just wouldn't tell the old radio guy.
Right.
But then when I heard these Billy Meyer signals, I went, wait a minute, if that really came from a UFO, I kind of think that's what it is,
Have you gotten any feedback yet, Merle, from the Skywalker Ranch, the technicians?
No, because I just finally got around to sending those to the engineer up there. So, I'm hoping in the next week or two, depending on how busy they are, they can get around to analyzing it. And they're the people to analyze it, because they use analog mixed in with digital, when they're doing all these movie soundtracks and everything. And if anybody's ever encountered a problem like this, it would be them.
Wow. Very interesting. And I want to say I have the album. You were nice enough to have it sent to me. And it's great. I love it. And I know Lynn wants to get on to the Lost Continent of Mu. But first we are going to play a song from the album. This one is it's track number 1 off the Signals from Malibu album. And this is called Signals from Malibu by Merrell Fankhauser. Okay, that was Signals from Malibu from the new Merrell Fankhauser Signals from Malibu album. And welcome back, Merle. Are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Merle.
Really. And I'd like to mention that there is a video at YouTube that we did for Signals from Malibu, and also one for Messages from the Dome. And I don't know, have you ever played Messages from the Dome on the radio yet?
Yes, I have. We've played it 2 or 3 times actually, and we haven't had a problem.
No.
Oh, wonderful.
Although I thought this was an old analog, but I just noticed the board. It is digital, but we've never had a problem before. So
maybe it's something to do with the newer digital boards.
Maybe
I've
that's
asked
it.
a lot of stations I've been on, and a lot of them still have the old analog boards. They like the sound of it. But, then it seems like it's people that have newer equipment that it happens to.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that here.
yeah. So what I was going to do is I was going to play that at the end of the show after we wrap up.
Good.
Okay. And
Well, I was going to ask you, Merle, have you been in touch with Preston Dennett at all regarding this off-coast or undersea base off the coast of Malibu?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, he was going to be investigating that, and I thought you two were going to get in touch.
What is his name?
His name is Preston Dennett, and he's a
Preston
UFO.
Dennett. No, I haven't been in touch with him.
Okay. Well, the Chumash, they are aware of this underground or underwater base.
Oh, yeah. Did I tell you I even met a security guard at the casino down here? I've played in the bar a couple of times, the Chumash Casino that's, near Santa Barbara. And he knew some of my other albums that I had out, and he was an older gentleman, and I was surprised, and I was talking to him, and he said, "What are you working on now?" And when I told him about Signals from Malibu, he went, "Oh, yeah, our tribe has known about that building." He called it a building for thousands of years. He said when the ocean water was down lower, they used to fish off of the roof of it. And then he really shocked me, and he said, that's part of the lost civilization of Mu.
Oh,
And
my gosh.
at that point, I thought the floor was going to open up and I was going to disappear. I thought I was in a Spielberg movie. I was just going, my God, how all of this stuff is connected. It's just amazing.
it is, isn't it?
So is any of this written down anywhere? I know that, what was her name? Melville, his actually. His first name starts with an L. I don't know how to pronounce it. Melville.
You thinking of the book Rainbow?
Children of the Rainbow?
Children of the Rainbow, Leonani Melville?
Yeah. Is that about the only source of this kind of information, Merle?
About Mu?
About Mu.
Oh, no. The Lost Continent of Mu, was a paper or a hardback edition, which is what I found in 1969 by Colonel James Churchward, who explored the Yucatan. And he found the writings about Mu on the walls of the pyramids and things down there. And then a Dutch explorer, La Pignon, supposedly found a whole script that talked about this queen that came from the continent of Mu when it was sinking and the volcanoes were going off. And they said that she came and taught the South American Indians the knowledge to build pyramids.
Really?
And that's a book that one of my producers found in an antique bookshop. It was a 150-year-old book.
Now, was that Children of the Rainbow?
Queen Mu.
Was that Children of the Rainbow?
No, it's a book called Queen Mu. Children of the Rainbow talks about the religions, if you will, of the Hawaiians before the missionaries.
Because wasn't there a lot of scripts in that, different, symbols and so forth, that the Hawaiians have actually adapted or adopted in their culture?
Oh, yeah. They're on Aloha shirts. You can buy aloha shirts, and people don't even know they're walking around with moo symbols on their back. But I was living in a suburb of Los Angeles in 1969 with my band, and we didn't have a name for the band, and I was cleaning up this log bin in a rented house next to the fireplace in Woodland Hills, and I came across this book. It was a 1932 edition by Colonel James Churchward called The Lost Continent of Mu. And we started reading it, and all of a sudden we all just knew that was the name for our band. So we called our band Mu. We got a record contract with United Artists and another label, and now that album's been out on all over the world on 7 or 8 different record labels, and we made an amount of money for that was about 1971. And some of our friends had moved to the island of Maui, and Jimi Hendrix had just filmed there the movie Rainbow Bridge. And they said, "You guys have got to come over here. This is where you belong, in the land of Mu." Because the Hawaiian mountain peaks were supposedly part of the lost continent of Mu that was still up out of the water. So in 1973, we told our record company and our producers and agents we're moving to Maui, and they thought we were nuts. They're going, you're on television, you're, playing big concerts everywhere. You want to move to this little island? And we said, yeah, we feel it's our destiny. Well, we moved there, and I was so curious about it, I started asking some Hawaiian people about this. And most of them didn't want to talk about it. The young people knew nothing about it. It was like, no, I've never heard of that. And then I ran into John Severson, who started Surfer Magazine, and he knew all about it and the whole thing. And I ended up leasing some land out in the rainforest where I built a cabin because I really wanted to be in nature and go out into the jungles and explore. And I met this very nice old Hawaiian man, and I started talking to him. And he said, "Come over here. We can't let my wife hear us talking about this." He said, "There's a trail," and he showed me where this trail was that went down into this valley. And he said he used to play there as a little kid, but his parents forbid him to go down there, and he never knew why. Well, there's 4 pillars on a stone foundation that looks like Mayan Indian work with the cut stone that's so close together nothing will grow between it. And he said, that's part of Mu.
Wow.
So he led me to the edge of the trail, but he wouldn't go down the trail. And he said his parents, when he was a child, said, the Mu people are going to get you if you go down there. And so I went down this trail, and when I got to this spot where there was this tiny little pristine waterfall falling from about 50 feet, like a gentle rain shower almost, right in front of it were these 3 pillars that I estimated were at least 30 feet tall, and one of them had broken off and was laying half submerged in this pool of water, and it was on this foundation. And I felt like, I was doing Indiana Jones before they invented the character. And then I noticed there was a stone sidewalk leading off of this down in the valley that went towards the ocean. And so I started following the sidewalk. In spots, you couldn't stand up anymore because this giant howbush, it's like giant hibiscus, and it ends up like an intertwined jungle gym or something, grows, and it grows up 80 feet tall. So I had to stoop down. In one spot I even had to crawl and climb through it. But when I got to the end where the sidewalk went off into the ocean, when a wave would recede, I could see that the sidewalk continued on
that's amazing.
under the ocean. And I can't tell how far out, 75, 100 feet out, there was a lava flowing over it. So that told me that this sidewalk was older than that lava flow, which was close to 1,000 years old.
And the difference between what you found and then the Hawaiian architecture is strikingly different, isn't it?
Yes, it's totally different because the Hawaiians, they just took volcanic boulders and stacked them up, not taking anything away from them. They knew how to take boulders that were naturally made and make them fit together and make these beautiful rock walls out of them. And then, they would put poles and thatched roofs on them to make houses.
But they didn't carve them.
There was no way this looked like these rocks were cut on a milling machine or something. And the pillars almost looked Grecian because when I got back up on the top to where I could see the top of one of them, and there's a picture of one of them in my book, Calling from the Star, it looked like they were a bunch of hex head rods, almost like an Allen wrench tool, all fused together, but there's no cement or mortar holding them together. They're like they were molded that way.
Talk about high technology, huh?
Yeah. And I heard that later, somehow, some surfer told somebody about these things, and a German archaeological team came over there with TV cameras, and that was in the late 70s or maybe 1980, and filmed it. And nobody ever saw the film or anything, but I found a lot of other odd things on Maui. On the opposite side of the island, it's very desolate, where a lava flow had been about 1,000 years ago again. There's a rock trail big enough that you could drive a Jeep on, with rock walls, definitely Hawaiian made, going out through this lava flow. And a Hawaiian fishermen called it the King's Burial Ground. And they go out and fish in the ocean there, but they won't stay there at night because they believe the place was haunted.
Yeah.
And they said there's some ruins under the lava that are definitely not Hawaiian. So I took a group out there in 1983, and we had one of the first video cameras, but the thing was so big and cumbersome and a deck, and we hired a couple of guys to help us carry it, but it was still rough going because it's so hot out there. There's no trees, there's no water. It's like you're, on the moon or something, and that black lava just absorbs the heat.
Kind of like Death Valley.
We made it out there about 3 miles, and I was looking towards the crater where the lava flow had come down, and I started seeing the same kind of stonework underneath the lava. And the distance plays tricks on you there. You can't really, tell how far something is that you're looking at. And I walked out a ways, and I saw a hole like a doorway, a stoop, that you would step on, made out of this carved rock with a carved rock wall under the lava. And a person told me that 7 miles out, up to the left, near a red cinder cone, there was a building that my friend, who had been there before, called Lost City Hall. And me and him, we tried to get out there with the film crew, but it was just too exhausting, and we were running out of water, and we camped out at night in one of these ruins, and there was 2 ladies with us, and they claimed they were hearing people crying and babies crying, and
that doesn't surprise
that was
me.
a legend too, that you would hear these things. I don't know if it was the wind going through these odd lava formations or what, but nobody wanted to go any further than that.
And this was during the day?
That was at night.
At
we
night.
Spent the night in one of these ruins,
Ooh.
about 3 miles out. So I went back again with just one person and a lot of water. My friend had been there before. It was very exhausting to get there. It took the better part of the day, even leaving at 6 in the morning where it was still cool. And we found this huge building that was about as big as a drugstore, and it was Hawaiian. It was stone, made out of piled stone. The interesting thing, over in the right-hand corner, there was a hole in the floor. Somebody had taken some old electrical cable and tied it around this rock formation that was there and put that down into the hole, and there was this real rickety ladder that somebody had made, and you could see where they had made torches out of brush so they could see. And we had a flashlight, but we didn't have a camera, so we went down in there, and man, talk about a mind blower. It was like going into an Egyptian tomb.
That's mind-blowing.
The floor, the walls, and the ceiling were all this cut stone. And it was amazing. And you could tell that the Hawaiians, the legend was that they felt this was sacred, and so they built a heiau, which is a Hawaiian temple, on top of this other building. And the way the legend goes is that there was a white race of 150,000 people living there when the Hawaiians came from Tahiti. And over on Oahu in Honolulu at the Bishop Museum, there's a stone axe head in a case there that was found in this area, and they believe it to be of Viking origin.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And hardly anybody knows about this at all, and it's just out there. And the interesting thing, about 1.5 miles before you get to where this building is, there's just this real funky barbed wire fence going across the trail, and the government has a sign on it, the military actually, not to go beyond that point.
Now, was that in place when you were out there hiking, or was that subsequent to your hike?
No, that was there, Lynn. That was there.
You have to ask yourself, what the heck are they hiding? What don't they want you to know?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, well, the one thing I do know is that there was an island that they used to bomb for bombing practice, and the Hawaiians stopped them. It's Kaho'olawe, and you have a direct view of Kaho'olawe from there. Now, I don't know if they were afraid that some shrapnel might come down and somebody might be there to get injured. That was the only thing we could think of why they wouldn't, want anybody to be in that area.
That might be a logical reason, but I think there's more to it.
Could be. Another interesting thing, about 2 years ago now, I was on Coast to Coast AM, and I was talking about this very thing. And the next day, I ended up with about 600 emails. The day after that, it went up to 840. And one of the emails was a couple that were vacationing on Maui, and he was really into ancient archaeology. And he said, "How do I get there? Tell me where to go to get to this." And I said, "Well, just go over to Kihei, start driving towards McKenna Beach, and the road will end, and there's a gravel area to park, and then you just start hiking, and next thing you know, you'll see this gravel trail that goes off into the lava flow." And I said, but take a lot of water, make sure you have hiking boots and hats, because it gets very, very hot. Well, he made it about 3 miles out there, and he took a bunch of pictures of the ruins that he found under the lava and emailed them to me. And then the thing was, though, his wife got a heat exhaustion, almost like a sunstroke, and he said they were really freaked out, that he feels like he barely got her out of there. He practically had to carry her back to the car, and then they went into the emergency room, and she had heat exhaustion. So people have told me, oh, you should go back out there again, Merle, and I'm going, I'd have to take a helicopter now. I'm a lot older. I was in my 30s then.
It's like walking Death Valley. It's just so desolate and hot out there. But
exactly.
Merle, who do you think this white race was? Do you think they were of Viking origin, or do you think they were more maybe Atlantean even? I mean, do we know who the Lemurians actually were? Weren't they two separate races between Atlantis and Lemuria?
Well, Mu was the motherland, and a branch went out to make Atlantis. But there were several races. There was like an Asian race on Mu. There was a white, blonde, and red-haired race.
Okay.
And, you know, I do think the Vikings could have gone there.
They went everywhere else. Why not?
Yeah, they went everywhere else. And so did the Chinese. The Chinese went to the inland swamp areas up here above San Francisco even. So, you know, it could be Mu people, and then whoever else happened to land there, and then, you know, along came the Hawaiians from Tahiti, and, you know, the history from then on is pretty good, but the pre-Hawaiian history, that Leonani Melville book, Children of the Rainbow, and I think it's still in print, is a good one to get. And they talk about how the Hawaiians' ancient chants talk about Mu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, then how about the Menehune? How did they play into this?
Well, I was just helping Dr. Susan B. Anthony. She's doing a book on little people all over the world, and she wanted a bunch of information from the Menehune. There's these canals that I found out in the jungle on Maui, off of the road to Hana, and they're ancient. You can tell they were ancient water tributaries that somebody built, and the Hawaiians that would talk to me about this said that the Menehune built those, and they feel that the Menehune were part of the people of Mu. And I played on the island of Kauai. I had a steady engagement there at a beautiful hotel for about 5 months. And there was a heiau across the highway, hidden in these trees for 50 years, they said, and they decided to clear it. And they had this ceremony, and all of the Hawaiians there believed that the Menehune built this temple that was under these trees.
Wow.
The other thing, in 1974, I was at the top of the crater. Well, we had hiked in the crater, and we were going down the Holua Trail. It's a switchback trail. And I looked out into the lava flow and saw what I thought was a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And you can rent cabins in there, but they forbid you to go off the trail. And
you did.
The cabin. And I was so, you know what I'm going to say.
Yes, I do.
I was so entranced with this thing that looked like a pyramid out in the lava. I got up the next morning. I had a bowl of oatmeal, and I said, guys, and I had this old Brownie camera that my mom had given me. I said, I'm going to that pyramid. And they said, oh, I don't know if you should do that. And there again, it was one of those things where it looked like it was, a block away, and it was a mile or more. And I had to jump these chasms that were like lava tubes. And,
yeah, dangerous.
Yeah. But I made it to this pyramid, and sure enough, it was a smooth-sided pyramid, and it looked to me like it was the top of a larger
capstone,
pyramid
right?
that was sticking out of the lava. And I climbed up on the side of it, and it's maybe, 50, the part that sticks out, maybe 50 feet tall. And I got such vertigo, oh man, I thought I was going to get sick.
Now, why do you suppose that is, Merle? Do you think it was from the height, or do you think it was because of the power of the pyramid?
I really don't know, Lynn, but you're at 10,500 feet.
Oh, well.
And after you're hiking a while, your throat,
Yeah.
your windpipe closes up, and you've got to
Lack of oxygen.
relax, take a deep breath. And I'd been in the crater before, only I came in from Sliding Sands Trail, and I felt the tightness in the throat, but I didn't have any vertigo or dizziness like I did this time. And actually, because I was down inside the crater, I was at a lower elevation, maybe 9,000 feet. And I finally crawled off the side of it and found a place in all these jagged rocks that I could prop myself up and take a picture of it. And that is in my book also. And it's at my website, merrellfankhauser.com. There's a picture of it. But the interesting thing, if you don't come down that trail at the right time of the day, and the sun is in the wrong place,
You can't
this
see it.
pyramid is totally hidden in the shadows, and you can't even tell it's there.
That's kind of strange.
That
isn't it?
is
Yeah.
strange.
I know.
But, Merle, you got reprimanded for taking that photo, didn't you?
Yeah. Did I talk about this before, Lynn? Or you
No,
put it in
just from the book.
We've heard all about
We
that.
do a little studying on our guests.
You do. You guys are good. Well, yeah, when a local paper wanted to publish the photograph, and when they did, the Parks Department wanted to see me in their office. And
We want
I would've
to
said,
speak to you.
told me that I shouldn't go off the trail, that I might encourage other would-be explorers to go off the trail and get hurt. And then the other interesting thing, I think this is in the book too, I'm forgetting things that are in the book. When we filmed the song Calling from a Star, and it was filmed in 1978 on 16 millimeter at the top of the crater, we were just finishing filming, and an agent from the Parks Department, and I think he might have been from Science City. They have these domes on the edge of the crater there, and one of them is owned by NASA, and people had seen things shooting out of that before, and they, it was rumored that it wasn't just a satellite tracking station. They had actually some kind of a laser up there. But anyhow, when we filmed Calling from a Star and we were finished, this man in a blazer with a very stern look on his face and flashed a badge at me and the producer and the cameraman and the other people that were helping us, and wanted to know what we were using this film for. We said it was a music video. And then he wanted to make sure we didn't get these domes in the shot, and also something in the floor of the crater. And I could never figure out what it was he didn't want on film. We got up there at sunrise, and then the sun came up. And at first, when they started filming me, I was more like a silhouette till the sun came up more. And we took 3 or 4 takes. And he took, and I'm in this white robe. By the way, you can go to YouTube and type in my name and Calling from a Star, and you can see this whole film
Oh, we'll
that we
check that
made
out.
up there. And they took me in the observatory where the parking lot was, where all the tourists were. And the tourists are looking at me very strangely walking through there in this white robe. He took me into the office and took my Hawaii driver's license information down, and the other producer, Charlie Booth, who was from Michigan, he took all of his information down. Then he was trying to tell us that he might want to confiscate the film.
Ooh.
And we said, well, the film already went down the mountain in the truck.
So you're going to have to go chase it if you want it. Huh?
Yes. So he said, well, you should have filed a permit, and, usually when people do car commercials or some commercial up here, there's a standing $200 fee. And Charlie said, well, will $200 do it? And he said, well, that's okay. You don't have to pay anything, but, we've got your information. And I was expecting, again, somebody from the Parks Department or whoever this gentleman was, and I could never tell what this badge was that he flashed. I was expecting to, get a visit from them, but I never did, and I'm glad I got to do all of that.
Or a visit from the Men in Black or something.
Really?
Yeah.
We are running very short on time again here, Merle. We got about 3 minutes left. My big question is, since I haven't seen the video yet, did you get away with it? Is the dome in the background?
Did you photograph the dome or the domes?
The photograph which?
In the video, are the domes in the background?
Oh no!
Oh,
no,
good.
we were shooting in the opposite direction.
Oh,
but if
okay.
you ever visit Maui, you can go to the top of the crater with your naked eye, and you can see these two domes that are up there, on the top of Haleakala Crater, and there is a vantage point where you could take a photograph of them, and if none of these park rangers or whoever they are see you.
Well, one dome, what is it, an observatory owned by NASA, and then what is the other dome?
They don't tell you. They call it Science City.
Science City?
Yeah.
Oh, is that where the lights come out of then that you're mentioning, like lasers?
Yes. It looks like a laser beam. And I think I told you guys, too, that in 1974, us and a bunch of tourists had a UFO sighting there that lasted almost 5 minutes, and it was a pulsating blue and green light that came over and lit the bottom of the crater up. Then two more smaller ones came out of it, and they shined lights between each other and formed a tetrahedron, an inverted pyramid. And we watched that for a good 3 minutes, and then they all came back together and went straight up and disappeared. And that's actually what inspired me to write the song Calling from a Star.
Really?
And when I finished my autobiography, I said that's got to be the title of the autobiography. Calling from a Star, selling great at Amazon.
Wonderful.
All right. Well,
Do I have time for just one more quick question?
It's going to have to be quick. Yep.
Okay. While you were at La Perouse Bay, do you remember that you saw an Oriental lady in a light blue gown with gold earrings? Who do you suppose she was?
You just gave me goosebumps, Lynn, by asking that question, because that is still a mystery. And Bill McEwen, the famous William E. McEwen who discovered Steve Martin, took a picture of me, and we didn't know there was this Asian lady seemingly to be in the trees next to me. And when he got the film developed in Honolulu, he went in and said, hey, you must have got somebody else's negative over this, and because that camera, a Hassell wide angle, it wouldn't do a double exposure, and we had never figured out how that got on there.
Oh my gosh, I'm just so curious as to who she may be in the idea of mythology, be it Mu or Asian. I'd love to know who the heck she is.
Well, you're just going to
We're
have
gonna
to
have
keep
to wait.
wondering because we are just about out of time once again. Merle, would you like to go ahead and give out your websites, where you can buy books, albums, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you can get the book, the autobiography, Calling from a Star, the Merrell Fankhauser story at Amazon.com. And then you can get CDs from me, and I'll sign them. All you got to do is go to merrellfankhauser.com. That's my website, and it's MERRELLFANKHAUSER.com.
Okay.
All right.
Well, once again, Merle, we thank you very much for joining us on Spirit Radio. It's great to talk to you.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you both, Willie and Lynn. I really enjoyed it.
And we are going to take a chance here and hope we don't put the station off the air.
And play one more song.
We're going to go ahead and play Messages from the Dome from the Signals from Malibu album by tonight's guest, Merrell Fankhauser. And thank you very much, Merle, and have a good night.
Thank you, Merle. Good night.
Aloha.
Aloha. Bye-bye.